GPS. It is a very recent concept that involves applications that integrate a geographical location with the general concept of getting a benefit or information that helps or supports the decision-making process to mobilize or operate in an interest area. The components or the technologies used in this type of services are cellular telephony, 3G, 4G, and radio, Wi-Fi, internet, geographical information systems, both web and desktop, mobile devices, smartphones and tablets that many of us have seen and are very familiar with, localization and routing systems, especially on the web, geographical processed and available geographical data. From Integraph's point of view as a commercial company, we have classified the services, the localized-based services, in three types. We have technology for general purposes, for infrastructure maintenance, for public and territorial safety. The applications that we can use for general purpose is where am I? How do I get from where I am to a different place? If maybe I am here in Camino Real where we are staying this time, how do I get from there to another place? Where is the gas station, the police department, a hospital, a restaurant that is closer to us? What are the traffic conditions on the route that I have to follow? What is the distance that I have to travel, and how much time would it take me? Today, we use the shuttle service of the hotel to come here, and many of us were actually checking our cell phones, where we're checking the route, and in our smartphones, and that is something that is just part of our daily lives. The applications for general purpose, it meets different needs, and at the company and governmental levels has created these applications that follow the same type of philosophy, which is to support the mobilization and decision-making parts. We have technologies that respond to more complex questions that are not actually that personal. For example, we have technology for infrastructure maintenance. Where are the holes on a high traffic way? Where are the affected light posts by a storm? Where are the missing parts of a drainage system? And talking about public and territorial safety, questions, for example, as what are the rates of car stealings in a neighborhood? What are the right ways of landing helicopters in an area where there has been a natural disaster? We can compare these questions with something a lot more simple than where are the closer supermarkets to where I am. This type of questions led Integra to come up with more complex solutions for more complex answers or questions. Where is a person calling from? A person who is reporting an accident, for example. Where is the area affected by the fire, that is affecting the person who called, or where are the firemen? In general terms, the localized-based services for general purposes, we all know them. There is a high demand for them. Everybody knows how to use them. They provide more and more information. We can see an application, a desktop application that defines the times that it takes a vehicle operating from one station to mobilize in a certain area. And the brown area is the time that it can take from 20 to 40 minutes, and the pink is the areas that can be covered in 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, and the green area is 5 minutes. This information, if it's available in the mobile level, is a lot more useful for the person who's needing it. Also, if we want to maybe lease an office in an interest area that is marked here with blue, we can actually try to find information about buildings with certain height, or maybe that have 5 to 10 stories. Maybe we want a high building that has a view. We can use this system to find the best location of buildings that could be a potential place to lease our office. Routing, proximity, those are needs that we meet these needs with different types of tools, with routing, proximity, area assignation, tracking of vehicles. Jose Miguel is going to give a very interesting presentation, as far as I understand, and he is going to cover many aspects of operation technology, how to track people, vehicles, and interest assets. And they actually complement this software part that companies like Integra have. Bilbao is one of the cities that actually uses our services a lot. They have a type of, they provide information to the driver. This application works in a web portal. You can also access to it from a mobile device. And the person knows all the time where there is heavy traffic, where they're repairing the streets, and with different colors, you can see those types of information in an efficient and well-organized way. Regarding the technology that Integraph has in infrastructure, I would like to sum up a presentation that one of my colleagues gave yesterday about mobile alert. It is an application for Android phones and iPhone phones. This app is free, and it works on the cloud. And the main concept here is that if we see a new hole on the street, we can actually take a picture of this hole, and let's call it incident, make a comment, and say, for example, this was there yesterday after the rain, and the application does a reverse geocode. So with the XY coordinates, with the GPS system of the phone, it can locate the address in a route. It sends information to the cloud of Integraph, and Integraph works with different agencies, and it notifies the different agencies. So the cloud sends automatically this report to the corresponding entity. This, in this case, would be Public Works. And then the entity receives this information with all of the information, the localization of this incident. And it is easier to coordinate and answer to repair the holes or whatever damages the infrastructure has suffered. This service works with a subscription. Maybe you saw Brad's presentation yesterday. However, if you want more information, you can go to Integraph's staff and in the exhibition area. Finally, we have localized-based services for public and territorial safety. Here, I really like this because there is a lot of interaction between users and government and defense entities with decision-making and mobilization. We can see a video here of what we have done, of how an entity interacts with the users. For example, in the case of natural disasters, there is a web environment where the entity deploys base information, for example, mapping information, and it has a digital elevation model. It deploys the information of the ground, and it combines the different variables, the different values, and that way we can detect the areas that are susceptible to erosions. So we can identify the areas that have a very steep area, and we can combine the information of the steep areas with the type of floors. There is erosion, and we can see all of this information, and we can graphically localize these areas, and we can maybe prevent landslides in case of heavy rain. Something similar to this, in this case, we have several layers of information in order to define what the areas of possible landslides are. We have an interest area here very close to Seattle. We deployed information of a digital elevation model, the interest routes, and we combined the different ground uses and gradients, and we can identify the areas that are a potential hazard for a landslide that could affect the route. This is an example of a final product that shows a route. The different colors show the different levels of danger in case of heavy rain in that area. This is one of the most interesting examples. For the defense area, we're identifying the areas for possible landing of helicopters. We have a map of a recent flooding or a digital elevation model. Combining this information, we can identify the areas where the gradient is equal to 7% or less, so it's not that steep. The ground cannot be urban. It has to be a naked ground where the helicopter can land. There cannot be any water. Of course, we need the information, the hydrographic information. In that way, identify the right areas to be able to land the helicopters and provide help to an affected area by a natural disaster. How do we present this information? Well, there are several visualizing tools. We are actually making an analysis here, for example, of car stealing. Of car stealings. We can use the graphical information, and we can draw this information in 2D, 3D, and analyze this information in a visual way. The last slide has to do with deployment. Intergraph has a technology, so if someone calls, we can identify the place where this person is calling from. And with this information, if the person has not much time to talk, we identify where the person is, and according to the information, we decide if we need to send firemen, an ambulance, the police, and this is a system that is very useful, and we can do this with somebody who's calling from a landline. We use intergraph technology with hardware technology, and we created an application for localization services. For example, a fireman carries a device with him, and this device has a button that can be pressed in case the fireman knows that he needs help or needs help. So his coordinates are sent through a radio satellite system to a web map service. There is an operator who's actually looking at the alerts. He knows what firemen have pressed this button, and he sends help to these people. The system is a little bit more sophisticated than I'm describing, but I invite you to see how it works. You can see the routes where the firemen can mobilize to provide, to help in case of a fire. These are the typical infrastructures for this type of services. We have a server, and we have several clients to provide localized based services. We have mobile phones, tablets, but we also work with GPS and Lencas that have an interface that allow using information-based, localized-based services. And these type of services are used by governmental entities. We see the type of services, WOMS, WFS, WFST, and we can have an entire presentation about all of these to deploy geospatial information from service. About the mobile alert part, there are several subscribers that are served by a server. The server administers the information that it receives, and it sends information to an entity who actually makes a decision and responds to incidents. And of course, there is a database to register every incident. Conclusions, well, the localized-based services support the mobilization and decision-making needs at the personal, community, corporate, and governmental levels. The desktop, portable, and mobile technology support the implementation of localized-based services for immediately available information. The architecture, the desktop and server architecture provide the platform for LBS applications. Intergraph develops software and has the technology to create LBS applications for general purpose needs, infrastructure maintenance needs, and public and territorial safety. Thank you very much.
We now have José Miguel Arellano Gallegos. José Miguel, you have the floor. First of all, I would like to thank INEGI and CIGMA for this invitation. Mr. Hector, thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you today and to being able to do something that I like the most, as 3D tracking, our passion is really it's localization, and this is why I'm here, because I'll tell you a little bit of what I do every day. Based on all the conferences that we have heard, colleagues like Jairo and all the conferences that we've heard yesterday and today, all speakers say that GPS is something that we all have in the hand. We all know where are we going, and we know that if we write the name of a restaurant, we will find the directions to get there. And that's something we can know in Mexico or anywhere else in the world. Thanks to the applications and thanks to Google Maps, we're able to do so. Nevertheless, what would happen if you travel, for instance, and imagine a woman going to Timbuktu and she would like to find her husband's automobile that stayed in Mexico City, and she wants to know where the husband is. So this is what we really do. We are devoted to tracking and monitoring mobile assets, and those could be people, vehicles, loads, etc. But before explaining that, I will let you know a little bit of the origins of the GPS. GPS emerged in the middle of the 1960s as a strategy defense measure from the government of the US in order to track the submarines and to continue with the technological battle that started the Soviet Union in 1957. This is what we imagine, right, when we speak about the the Soviet Union and the USA, but actually really the GPS as we know it today, and the GPS that is able to localize your mobile phones, etc., is very simple. It has a network of 24 satellites that turn around the Earth at 200 kilometers, and it is available to all users, or was available to all users in the 90s by the government of Bill Clinton in the United States. How does it work? Every transmitter or every device, like the one that I have in my hand, I can pass it around so that you can see it, issues a frequency, and so the satellite can know the distance of that device. As we see it in the image, we have the R1 satellite, and we can know that that device is at 10,000 kilometers, but R2 can say, well, the satellite is 2 kilometers away from me, but finally R3 can say, well, that satellite is 10,000 kilometers away from me. And this is how, when we draw these circles, we can determine the latitude and the longitude, the length of the satellite. And so then when we know how it works, we can center our attention on the asset that we want to locate. It has four main functions: commercial, state, military, and civil function. Actually, 80% of the devices, like for instance in Russia, are devoted to the military function or action. In the US, there is more use in the commercial field. Jairo, you know that very well. And they use satellites the most in the US. Currently, this technology is really well developed, and we can realize that we have 1,500 localizers all over the world, and we believe that by 2014 we will have 2 billion localizers, which will represent 27% of the world population, and we believe that in a few years we will reach 7.4 billion localizers, and that's very important because that would allow us to locate all of our vehicles. 3D Tracking is a company that is passionate about localization. We can find boats, airplanes, motorcycles, cars, automobiles, horses, merchandise, people, or even animals and pets or mascots if you want. And I'm going to give you a very, very simple example. I placed this image, which is a jaguar. As you know, it's a species in danger of extinction, and it's one of the biggest feline species in the world after the tiger and the lion. And in Mexico, before there were, in 2006, there were just few jaguars, and if we were able to track them, we could at least know whether these are females or males, where do they move around, and try to protect their habitat and save them from extinction. And some of the examples of the things that we can do to improve the environment. 3D Tracking is a world company. We are in 25 countries, as you can see in the map. And that, what's the advantage of being in a world company? If you have an asset that is in Mexico and you need to move that asset into the United States, we have no barrier. The network is worldwide, is international, and we can locate your asset everywhere in the world. We have 6 companies in Mexico, Aguascalientes as the headquarters, then Torreón, Fresnillo, Guadalajara, Irapuato, and we just opened Querétaro. So the fact that we're positioning in different states in the country is because we want to offer a better service to the customer, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to sell is not only localization, but we're trying just simply to transform our service to human sentiments and emotions. We all want safety and tranquility and well-being. Throughout localization, throughout a GPS, we can feel these emotions every day. We know that if we have the control of all of our assets, we can get these feelings. This is a scheme on the way we function. As Jairo was already saying, all the applications, all the tracking devices are able to be viewed in any mobile device, a computer, a tablet, or mobile phone, etc. We can see that from anywhere. In Latin America, the fact of finding assets is very cost effective. In the last 5 years, we have not reduced, we have not gone under 20%. This is an important growth, and it's thanks to something that we all want, safety. When we go and try to explain to our customers who we are and what we do, we realize that there were different factors or situations. Customers are looking for different things. We're only wanting to offer safety in many aspects, but they think that throughout these localization devices, they can avoid fatigue and they maybe can find the ideal route. But actually, this is not what the customer is looking for. The customer is looking for 2 things. In developed areas like in Europe or North America, they try to develop management systems of human and material resources that would be able to improve the company's work, and so that these represent an economical benefit, meaning optimization of timing, resources, which could be the fuel or a person. In Mexico or in Latin America, developing countries, we are worried about something else. We're concerned, or we want to prevent theft, not only the vehicle theft, but also of our goods. As a company, for us, a way in which we can avoid theft is these following steps. Like if we have a device or transmitter in a vehicle, we can establish a route, like Jairo said just a while ago. I'm just gonna give you a brief presentation of that, but it seems that internet is not working very well, but we can establish a route. If that vehicle leaves the route, that generates an alert throughout email or text message saying that that unit is not longer in that path. And if we are aware that that is happening, then we can just make a decision. But if we are not aware of that, we can place a microphone in the unit and call them and know whether this unit is being stolen or just the driver stopped for a coffee. If we determine throughout a phone call that the unit is in fact being stolen, then we can reach the police department to take measures, implement measures, and recover the vehicle. And after establishing contact with the police, we can decide to turn the vehicle off. From the computer, from the mobile phone, with a simple message, we're able to do so. And when we turn off the motor, that means that the police is very close and we're able to recover the vehicle. And thanks to these processes, we have been able to recover 95% of the units that have been that have suffered an attempt of theft. 95% of 20 attempts in this year is a great number. We want to increase it. We want to reach the 100%, but we're working on it. We're not going to speak about concerns of many of our customers, which is the theft of diesel, naphtha, or tires or batteries, which is a serious problem, especially diesel, because diesel represents or is considered a raw material for transport, for the transport industry. 3D tracking has equipment that allow us to know from our computer, like if we were in front of the steering wheel of that vehicle, how much or what's the percentage of gasoline that the vehicle has at that moment, the RPM to know how the driver is, the bus driver is driving, whether the bus or the vehicle goes slope or something, and this is how we can know, or the systems that are useful for that. We can also check the battery to know whether we have to change it. And of course that there is an early alert that tells me that I have to change my battery. And finally, which interests many people, is yielding kilometers or liters per kilometers or miles per gallon. This is something that interests most of our customers, because gasoline is an asset. Sometimes it's not fair that the drivers just get diesel or gasoline from vehicles just to sell them to a price that is half the real value, and that's really worrying, and we want to resolve this type of problem. And how can we throughout this type of system? Do I have the time to do a web presentation? I'm going to show you some of the units in lifetime, real time. Well, actually, I have a problem with the network, so. I'm not going to be able to show you that. I am so sorry. We will give you some flyers if you feel like having a user and a password to enter our webpage and know what we're doing. We will be happy to do so. So I'm moving on to the conclusions. The control of your assets and your dearest beings and your pets can be in the palm of your hand. You can know their location and enjoy the peace of knowing that you have all this situation under control. These feelings will be translated in peace and well-being. And as a company, we understand these needs because the service that we offer are services of human beings committed to their work, because they respond to the same needs of all of our customers. And this is why I would like to say the fourth rule of the 10 depth of the Dalai Lama: get rid of what is delegate those tasks that you don't want to do, but devote your time to do the things that you like. Enjoy yourself, enjoy your people, enjoy what you do every day. All your assets are in charge of our company. 3D tracking. Thank you. Thank you, José Miguel.